They say direct mail is dead. Think again. Our guest today has almost single-handedly helped keep the post office in business by sending over 1 billion pieces of direct mail in his career. His name? John Hamlin. And he started in the car business at just 14 years old. John built his career by driving relationships with honesty and integrity. Now, John is in his 35th year as founder and president of Hamlin and Associates. His data-driven strategies use direct mail as the media to deliver his clients incredible results. Buckle up and get ready for another unforgettable ride on the Driving Relationships podcast.
3, 2, 1.
Quiet on the set. Take 73.
Cool, John. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for making the trip. You know, I was gonna drive to see you, but it was easier for you to fly to see us. So I appreciate you doing that.
Thanks for having me. You know, I've watched you guys for years, and it's actually cool to be here.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about like entrepreneurship today, sales, and then we had a really cool conversation about, I think, just interviews and kind of people that we look to hire. So I think a lot of that stuff will come out today. But talk to me a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey. When did you start? Because I'm really curious on like, what's that first day?
Just moved to Daytona Beach, Florida. Okay. And I wanted to network. I wanted to meet people. There's a guy who's just an absolute giant named Bruce Rossmeyer. And he owned the world's largest Harley Davidson dealership, the Toyota dealership, the Ford dealership. And he had this big event that he would do to help children. And I thought, that's my way in. That's how I'll do it. Well, this custom Harley Afghan comes up for sale, one of one. For auction. I bid. I get it. Right?
Yeah.
This lady comes up to me and she says, did you buy the Afghan? I said, yes. She goes, Mr. Rossmeyer wanted that for his new citation. He'll pay you double. And I said, just don't put the double in the kitty. I'll keep mine in the kitty and he can have the blanket. Yeah. I watch her go back down the hill, go up on stage, whisper in Bruce's ear. Yeah. He goes over, takes the mic from Steven Tyler, and proceeds to murder my name. He says, "Who's Mark Hamlin?" And what do? Do you raise your hand? Do you not? You want, you know? And then she runs back over. I go, I'm sorry. Who's John Hamlin? So I go down. He tells everybody, puts his arm around me, and tells me where the party after the party is.
Yeah.
Right. Go back up, stand next to Mr. Joe Cool, and he's like, without looking at me, he goes, "Okay, that was a good move." So a year later, I said to Bruce, because since then I've given him $2 million. I got bought in, and it's interesting because it's all car guy. Yeah. I said to Bruce, I go, I didn't go to Boggy Creek to help children. I went to network. He goes, I know. I said, you know? I was kind of ashamed of it, right? Yeah. And he says, yeah, I line them, the kids close them. And it hit me because it's exactly what happened. There's this cute little redhead sitting there, standing there, first day at camp, looking around. They kind of just let her ease in, right? Yeah. I'm behind her. My problem is I can't get a stupid signal on my cell phone. This is right. That's my issue. Right. And all of a sudden, I look at this little girl, and she reaches up and she pulls her wig off. It's a leukemia wig. None of the kids have hair. And my issue is a cell phone signal. Really, dude? Really, John? That's your issue? And I just realized that's my calling. And so yeah, I'm big on that. I'm big on Make-A-Wish. And
that's cool that that the charities really fuel your purpose then, I guess, in business, right? So talk to us a little bit about the start in business. How did you get started in business? Because obviously it didn't go from one night you went to bed, the next night, you're bidding on this and helping charities, right? Right.
Well, I started back in it's easy to remember the date, 8 of 88. Wow. Imagine that. And I still have the original 9 dealers that I booked that day or that month. But it was a totally different dynamic. We didn't have technology. Everything, we had gifts and freebies and things like that.
So were you working for somebody at this point, or did you just decide to?
A company called CMI.
Okay.
And CMI became Aspen, which became Epsilon.
Yeah, we know them.
Right.
Yeah.
And Pat O'Reilly and I started that. I promised. He said, "Will you help me get this started?" Yeah. He had dealerships. There's, long story short, he ended up with the marketing company, and I fulfilled my obligation to him and said, "I want to do my own thing." Yeah. And he even offered to loan me the money. Or most guys are like, "You can't. I've got a covenant of non-compete.
Get out." Yeah.
And he's like, you did what you said you would do.
So let's rewind even further. How'd you even get in the car business? Like, have you sold cars before? We always ask that question. Like, do you remember the first car you sold?
Oh, yes. Most definitely. But to tell you, at 14, and on 82nd Avenue in Portland, Oregon, there was a guy who had a dirt lot, and if I quit skipping school, he'd keep me on detailing cars.
That was the arrangement?
Yeah. It was funny because without going too deep into it, I didn't have a whole lot of guidance when I was a kid. You know, I kind of got to run my own deal, which I had a blast.
Yeah.
I don't say I had a bad childhood. I had a blast.
Yeah.
But I got in a little bit of trouble every now and again. And he promised me on my 18th birthday that he would make a call and get me on as a car salesman because that's all I wanted to be. And he did. Called Mike Salta Pontiac. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mike Salta. One of the original mega dealers. Went down there, got hired, and I'm selling cars.
It's funny because I think everybody we have on this podcast, like myself included, they got into selling cars by accident. It was kind of I just kind of winded up here and needed a job. But you said your lifelong dream was to sell cars.
I know. Cardone went nuts over that.
Where does that come from?
Because you're kidding me. It comes from living in a really rundown trailer park.
Yeah.
And the guy with the nicest trailer and a cool car, because they gave demos back then. And had money in his pocket, dressed nice, girls, right? And I had a crush on his daughter. That helped a little. And he was a car salesman. And I'm like, sign me up.
So hang on.
I'm not kidding.
So he brings the demo back to the trailer park, and you're like, I want that. Give me that dealer plate.
Yes, exactly. And he always had a good-looking girlfriend. And when I needed money to like buy my mom something for Mother's Day, how much you need? Here's $5. You know, he was just a great guy.
Yeah, it's awesome. So what was the first car you sold? Do you remember the make, model, year?
I remember everything about it. It was I think it was a 79 Trans Am.
Okay.
We had been told in the sales meeting in the morning that the Klamath Falls Indians just got their settlement. So if a Native American walks on the lot, they got pockets full of money. I'm not kidding. And so I'm sitting in a Renault 18i. If you remember the car, you probably weren't born yet.
No.
And, listening to, believe it or not, Layla, Eric Clapton.
There you go.
And I see a taxi cab go by real slow and what is undeniably a Native American looking out the window. Yeah. And at that store, you had to be the first one to yell up. Right?
Oh.
And so I get out of the car, run across the front, trip over the bushes, get up, and I went, get within earshot, and I go, up!
Wait, so the customer can hear you?
No, they're just...
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was like when you go to a Moe's Grill or some of these restaurants, like, welcome to Moe's. I just imagine coming in and you're running at me saying, up! I'm like, whoa, what?
So,
so the taxi pulls up. The person gets out. You claim me up.
She says she wants the Trans Am. We don't have any new ones.
Yeah.
Put her on a used one, which was a CIF car, right? And the general manager happened to be on the desk that night. It's closing time, and we're going out on a test drive, so it's a little nervy.
Right.
But needless to say, on top of the $900 CIF, well, we made a very, very good commission on the car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, this is more than I thought it would be.
We had because we always ask people we have them on here, like, do you remember the first car you sold? Oh, absolutely. Do you remember the customer? No. Do you remember the commission? Oh, absolutely. It's just like
the customer was Shelly, and her boyfriend. This is getting a little deep, but her boyfriend was the guy that was being hunted by the FBI for shooting the FBI agents at Wounded Knee, which again is before your time.
Wow.
So why did I even bring it up?
How about that? No, that's awesome. Well, and I think it's funny, just even your recollection of that story, I think tells kind of who you are and how much you care about people, right? And so I think that's played, it seems like a huge role in your journey. So you go from selling cars to marketing company to now you've spun off on your own. What's that first day when you're on your own in the marketing company? What's that like?
No different than what I was already doing for Pat. Again, I had his blessing, so, and just doing what I was doing every day anyway. But just now I was doing it under Hamlin and Associates. And, a lot of things changed. For instance, Gary Oftring Chevrolet Oldsmobile in Peoria, Illinois. I walked in and after their first event, and one of the salespeople looked at me and said, we're not doing another one of those mooch sales, are we? And we eventually went, no gifts, no gimmicks, changed the way that we did it. And then Gary, right? Do you know Gary?
No.
He's a gentleman, a true gentleman. I went in, I sat down when I went to sell him. First thing he said to me was, young man, where's your tie?
Oh, no.
And I never forgot it.
Where was mine? Where's mine right now?
You just don't forget it. And my guy's like, why do we have to wear a tie? We're in Florida. I said, we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's played well because a lot of people have commented.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
where do you buy your ties at?
Everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Depends.
Cool. So talk to us a little bit about, how you've grown your business over the years, because you got into business and you said 88, right? I remember that because it was the year I was born. But
I gotta make another date.
So you've been in business for a long time. Like, what are the one or two things that you feel like have made you the most successful? Or why have you been so successful in business and building this business and building your customer base and keeping your customer base? What are the one or two things?
First and foremost, integrity. Just like a lot of businesses, I'm sure you've experienced it. There's in our industry, it's a direct mail scum.
Yeah.
Right. And there's just we don't operate like what the companies do. That would be number one. And there's two what I consider to be absolute a kiss of death. One is because we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
That is killer. And so I've never allowed that. I've seen that crush companies. And now, which is becoming more important to me, is what I call the changing of the guard. Those that don't embrace that will probably fail because it's a natural thing. I'm bringing guys up that I've hired out of college, at ADA College, Michigan, Northwoods, right?
Northwood, yeah.
And these guys are studs.
Yeah, they are.
And everybody thinks they're basement dwelling. Wow.
I mean, that program is phenomenal up there. We had some interns last year, and I was able to get a couple of them. I had 4 of them. So service and parts, they did a few things for us, and man, I was just, I found out one of them was doing something different this summer. Like, no, why? What did I do? Like, come back and work for me.
Yeah, what didn't you like?
Yeah, exactly. So, wow. So talk a little bit about like the talent then and recruiting, because we had a really cool conversation in the car just about some of our frustrations. And I would say, let's turn that into advice for people looking for a job and like interviewing. What are some of the things that you look for in people to work for you?
Well, again, most what we hire is out of college. So we get, we can look at like, did they play sports? When they come up to us, is their shirt button crooked? And no, I really don't know anything about you guys. What are you doing?
Yeah.
As opposed to the guy that knows about us, hands us his resume. Now, a resume when you're college, he played sports, which means what? He's coachable.
Yeah.
Could be a coach.
Yep.
So it has potential.
Yep.
And then you have other people that you get that vibe. They have the correct answer for everything too quickly. So that's scary. And then there's like people that are already in the industry. I won't mention names, but I passed on hiring this one young man, and he showed up at NADA at a booth for one of my competitors. And I've got 2 guys with me that are fresh. And I've got to think, because I can't say it as he said it. But I said, oh, yeah, hey, how's it going? Mr. Hamlin, how are you? Good. How's it going? He goes, oh, man, I just had a deal in here. Just totally crushed him. Yeah. Knocked his blank head off and got him to do this, got him to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, my guys are just, because they've never, ever heard me talk like that. And so I turned around. We were supposed to go to Aspen's party. They have like 6 bands, Yeah. And I called the pilots and I said, how soon can you get us back in the air and going to Daytona? And I hung up, and the guy's like, we're not going to the party? I said, guys, there's nothing here I want you to see. At least at this stage of the game.
Yeah. Talk about the relationships you've built over the life of the business, because you gave me an interesting stat, and I'll let you say it, about how many of your original clients that you're still servicing today, 30 years later. 9. It's crazy.
It is. My first client was Todd Green. I don't know if you know him or not. Green Automotive Group, Central Illinois. Second was Joe O'Brien, the Joe O'Brien Automotive team. Yeah. And then Highland and Schottenkirk. And it's just amazing that we still do business with them. Because the average life expectancy of a company like mine in a dealership, not that long.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've even seen it with what we've done, and I think it's this whole idea of keeping things new and fresh when it comes to marketing. And, we used that company for a year or 2, and maybe we had one bad campaign with them. So now we're going to drop them and go somewhere else, right? So what do you think has created that staying power for your company with some of these dealers and other dealers that you've serviced for a long time?
Great question. And the reason I say that is because it goes hand in hand with 2 things you just said there. And it all points back to integrity and in this case, transparency. We have what we call a CPC report that shows, if you did 160 campaigns with us, it shows every campaign and your average cost per copy and so on. But it also shows, oh, look at that one. Total loser,
Yeah.
right? You got to make it honest. How are you going to make it better if you're not being honest with yourself or with your client?
Yeah.
Right? So we kind of, but the season was amazing. And then all of a sudden dealers start thinking about it differently because everybody has events and things that just don't work.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. Why act like it didn't happen?
Yeah. Well, and it's never a magic pill. Like if I do a campaign with you, it shouldn't be a magic pill, right? I mean,
exactly.
You're not going to fix broken processes that are in the dealership. You know, you're not going to help the salespeople respond to leads faster. You're not going to help the technicians work on the car faster, right? Like you're only just a key piece of it. Where do you see your campaigns fitting in like an overall dealership operations?
Well, we have a philosophy, and if a dealer has to make it actionable, okay, that's when you start to get into dangerous territory. Like, let's face it. I know when I sold cars, I could not take calls. I got trained by Mel Fond, or not Mel Fond. I can't think of his name, Stuker, and I still sucked. I just like O'Reilly was like, he can't take any more phone calls.
Yeah,
right. I sucked, and then I learned how to train it, and it became better. But then I realized on our events what was happening. All right, what was happening was you'd say the event didn't work, right? And the average direct mail company would come in and say, well, you know, you had 80 calls or 160 calls, and we listened to some of them, Mr. Dealer, and I found out why it didn't work.
Yeah, like it's your fault.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and blame the dealer. Like, you know, and you can see the look on the dealer's face. Okay, is this the part where you tell me how much I suck? You know, get in line. All right.
So if the campaign's good, we'll take the credit.
Oh, yeah.
But if it's bad, that's your fault. Actually.
Yeah, walk around with their arms raised in a V. And here's the reality. It's so stupid. I didn't bump a trade. I didn't do any of the heavy lifting. I just started the opportunity, started the conversation, right? So we started to look at that, and so I started a company called Backstop Communications. Okay, I hate the word call center, and it's not a call center. It's actually legally a temp agency because that's what I'm doing. I'm putting a temp in to help you during this time of it when you have the influx of calls. But the great thing is that I go to the dealer, I'd come to you and I'd say what we just said, and that is, you know, you get blamed, you get said, well, this is why it didn't work, it's your fault.
Yeah.
How cool is this? You'll say, imagine every call being taken like that. And if they're not, I owe you. If not, you yell at me. I take full responsibility for all calls, and they will be handled perfectly. And
so it's a full package then.
Yes.
So your majority, I mean, you're living in direct mail, right? And then that direct mail prompts some sort of response from the customer, and then the dealer has something that they have to handle, like as part of your process. Is that a good explanation of it, or?
It is. It is. And we've even made that so simple. I mean, it's down to the salespeople have to memorize, so it looks to me like your goal here today would be, and read. We highlighted and then make it a question at the end saying, correct? And because we don't use gifts and gimmicks and all that, they have no other reason to be here.
True. And
when they say correct, it really is. That's an offer. I've never had anybody say, because I do it in the training session. Is that not an offer? Because that's an offer. Great, Mr. Dealer, you just saw the portfolio that received that letter.
Yeah.
Because we do 11 letters in one campaign.
Wow.
Right? It's all personalized.
Yeah.
Did you not tell me you would take that offer? I'm like, yeah, I did. And that's where it really gets kind of cool.
So yeah, I mean, wow. So let's get into sales a little bit then too, because like you're a sales trainer at that point, is what it seems like. You're kind of training that staff to sell. So what have you learned over your career in sales? You know, because I think there's a lot of sales trainers out there. There's a lot of advice that you get from a bunch of different people. You know, again, give me like one or two of those nuggets of what's the best sales advice that you can give someone.
Well, keep it real. I think, I was interviewing trainers, and one said, repetition is the mother of skill. Right. And a couple of my people were like, ooh. And he goes, yes, write that down. Repetition is the mother of skill. And I'm a smart ass, okay? And I couldn't help it. I looked at him and said, okay, practice makes perfect. Mom taught me that when I was 7.
Right.
Please tell me you got something else.
Right.
Because most of them aren't in the reality of the problem of a sales call, for instance. Right? The person that's taking the sales call on our campaign would be your or your GSM's administrative assistant.
Yeah.
They can't get into the weeds because
they've never sold cars.
Right. All they can do is set an appointment for the boss.
Yeah. Yep.
So our appointment rate is 50%. Take out the part that's hurting you, right? Remove it.
And I've heard you talk about a couple things now, like with the business. It seems like you just distill it down to something so simple, and then you attack that. Just like you found the part of the market where it's like, okay, my competitors are just blaming the dealer for the bad performance. How about I start another company, right, that actually solves that problem too? So do you think that's a big piece of sales, is just trying to distill it down to what is the actual problem here?
Yes, exactly. That is the deal. There isn't a problem out there that doesn't have an opportunity attached to it. And so when you see a dealer struggling, don't blame him, help him. If you can't help a dealer, don't hurt him.
Yeah.
And I'm very passionate about that. The car business has served me since I was 14 years old. I love the car business. I love the people in it. Not that I haven't met some jerks.
Sure.
But for the most part, let's think about this. You could take a car dealer and drop him in any business. I don't care if it's restaurant, theater, whatever, and he'd make a go of it. You can't take a restaurant owner and drop him in a dealership.
Right.
He'd be broke in a week.
Right.
Car dealers are amazing.
Such a good point. Such a good point. So I've been like waiting to ask you this question and get it recorded. So don't mess up. No, I'm just kidding.
Is this thing on?
How many times in your career has someone said direct mail is dead?
Oh, good Lord. Too many to count. But the one that was the biggest was, you've got mail. They're like, what are you going to do, John? Going to go back to selling cars?
Yeah. I'm toast.
I just visioned it differently.
Yeah.
I visioned it that the problem with mail, people perceive it as junk.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going to find its lowest number. And I mean, it really helped when they actually created a junk file.
Yeah.
I mean, could you be more to my point?
Because they're sending I can send email directly to junk and say, I don't want this. I don't care.
Exactly.
But your physical mailbox
becomes more legitimate.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about that. It's authentic.
I am thinking about that because I spend so much time on my phone. I mean, I get the reports every day of how much time I spend on my phone, and yet one of the things I look forward to the most every day is going home and checking the mailbox with my kids.
Think about it.
I show up, they run out. I run out to the mailbox and I check the mail.
How old are your kids?
6, 4, and 3.
Okay, I always say 5.
Yeah.
So I'm in there. There's one thing that's constant. It's your mailbox, and you've been trained to go there since you were 5 years old at a certain time every day. And you said it before I said it.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. It's a natural.
We were just like 2 days ago, my wife goes, here, told my son, he goes, hey, here, take this out to the mailbox. Make sure you put the flag up. He goes running out there, and running out there, puts it in the mail, puts his little flag up. Right. It's brilliant.
And my CTO, his daughter's now a professor at Full Sail, which is all marketing. And while everybody, how many times am I going out of business? The most recent way I was going out of business is that this new generation, they don't want mail. They want everything by text. They want this. And she did a survey, and mail is the most important communication they get because somebody actually took the time, and they're not being inundated with it.
Yeah, it's true.
They're being inundated on their phones. They're being inundated everywhere else. So somebody actually took the time. It's more important to them, which, of course, I was very, very happy to hear that, but there again, that's the most recent time I'm going out of business. With the text thing, you're done.
I want to rewind like 60 seconds because you said something. You have a CTO. Now, traditionally, that's a chief technology officer. You're a direct mail company. Why do you have a CTO?
Because we're a tech company. We use mail to deliver the tech. And so we got thrown into that category of, well, they're an automotive direct mail company. It does present some problems in our presentation. Like if a dealer says, okay, well, I'm going to give you a shot this weekend, and if you do a good job, I'll apologize. I'm like, wow, is that what you heard me selling? Because that's not what I was selling. I did a horrible job on my presentation. Because there isn't anything in our presentation that is about giving you a good weekend 2 weeks from now. That's a gimme, honestly. It's all the other things we do, all the other problems we solve that are pain points for every dealer in the country. If you ask a dealer, do you think your unsold traffic's being followed up on? What do they say?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm talking about the dealer.
Well, they'll say absolutely, but then they aren't.
Right.
That was my point. I mean, that's what I feel like.
There you go. That's even the
for
best.
sure.
That's the truest answer
We
right
have
there.
a system, and we do this, and we have follow-up of this, and but they're not.
Right. And they know it, and they're like, well, we'll probably do okay at it. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Your previous customers been followed up with? Right. Yeah. And, I kind of put it on the dealer. I challenged them. They had enough yes men around them. They don't need another one, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'll say, okay, so that's been your problem. You've been yelling at that problem since I've been around. Why don't we, solve the problem, right? So follow me. And you see the level of class to what we do.
Yeah.
If your customers are receiving a good communication, not something they're going to throw away and laugh at, once a quarter, you're following up with your customers. You're following up with the whole dashboard is a you can prospect out of it. I can show you everybody that's coming due on a lease in 2 months. I can show you everything in one click of the mouse.
Yeah.
Right. And I hope everybody does that.
Right.
Right. But if they don't, I got your back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've received some of your mail because I purchase vehicles from here. And how do you handwrite all those letters, or how does that work?
No.
Those come from your desk? I mean, what?
No, that's...
I always give Zach a hard time because I get it in the mail. It's like from the desk of Zach Kinch, and it's all handwritten. I'm like, bro, you're spending way too much time on this.
It's funny. That really came to light when I started doing things in the political space. I received, and this is criminal. I received 5 14-page letters from Senator Rick Scott, who I know. And Rick is a great guy. And it started out with the cursive font saying, I'm up at 5 a.m. because I couldn't wait any longer to write to you. That makes him a liar. He never saw the letter. Trust me. He would never, ever approve something like that.
Yeah.
And so you don't say either way. If the customer's going to go, cool font.
Yeah.
Or they might think you wrote it. Either way, the objective is, here's the offer, here's the call to action. Are you interested?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just we want to show them something different every quarter.
So let's talk about the political space. That's kind of cool. So you start in the car business. What do you just get a phone call from a senator and it's like, hey, I got this from my dealership. Will you do this for me? Like, how do you break into that?
The beginning of it, do you know who Jeanine Pirro is? Judge Jeanine Pirro. She's on Fox. She's been on Fox forever. She was a DA in New York. She was a judge. She's Judge Jeanine Pirro. I'm friends with Ron DeSantis before he was ever governor. Sure. And he fixed me up on a blind. Never mind the blind date because it was only blind for her. Anyway, bottom line was I found myself in Trump Tower with her. She's really tight with Trump. Yeah. And Trump, and he literally said the number one catalyst of how political aides, I guess you'd call them, steal money is through direct mail. And he goes, from what I've heard about your integrity, I don't think you'd like this space. Went ahead and did it anyway. Everybody we did business with won, but it is really dirty. And you start to you'll call somebody up and say, hey, I'll do this. I'll get part of it donated or whatever. Sure. No, we're good. Who turns away free? Yeah. You know why? Because there's no kickback in free. And I just kind of stepped back from it. I'll help a friend. I'll help somebody I believe in. But the political is probably the worst of the worst. And I thought, like when I received the 5 letters, I thought, oh my God, these guys are stupid. I can make a killing here. Yeah. They're not. They know what they're doing. If it's a price per piece, it's a profit per piece. More pieces they sell you, more money they make. Wow. Right? And when you see, it's been a while since you've looked at the dashboard, maybe, but we show the cleansing process. The world's largest Chevy dealer, we take from 167,000 down to somewhere under 20,000 good to mail. Whoa. The duplicates alone, John Hamlin, John C. Hamlin, companies. Dear ABC Plumbing doesn't work, right? Right? Dear ABC Plumbing, right, throw it away.
It's making a lot of sense now.
Well,
because...
Yeah, if you take out the companies, how many times have you received a letter from another dealer treating you like a customer?
Oh, all the time.
It was because they don't take out companies, they don't take out dealer trades. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not, right? You either do it or you don't. Yeah. You get a duplicate, right? John Hamlin, John C. Hamlin, whatever. Right? They're either deduplicating the file or they're not. Well, dealers somewhat have a target on their back, honestly. And when you show them just how much duplication and the bad addresses and things like that in their database, they're shocked.
Because and I want to take it back. So if I have duplicate records, but then I'm a marketing company and I charge my client per piece. Well, I send 2 pieces to the same household. I get paid twice, basically.
Right. Exactly.
So I think it goes back to, again, what you said about just doing business differently. I think we've made a real commitment to that here.
We have.
And, just the integrity and the transparency and the honesty. And I think it just filters through everything that you do, right? So
you either are or you're not.
Yeah. So how do we find those people? Because you and I were talking about in the interview process that sometimes you get the guy that he has all the right answers, and he can talk and tell you why this is awesome. But that same guy, if you do an email with him and he goes, I know how to change your marketing. We're not going to do direct mail. You'd be like, wait, what?
It's funny because at the office, there's certain things everybody knows that I start smiling when the customer and the dealer says it. Yeah. And one of them is, we hate direct mail. I'm going to have a closed deal in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, no, because think about it. Walk a mile in his shoes. Why does he hate direct mail? He's been burned.
Right.
Let me show you how that won't happen here.
Yeah.
Because on one of the things, whether it's duplication or whatever, they're going to see how we've handled that situation, and they can verify it. They can check it. So I've never had a deal where I had John Marazzi, Fort Myers Toyota. I get set up by Mark Caputo, who's the head of advertising for SET. I get there. He agrees to give me 15 minutes. First words out of his mouth.
I hate direct mail.
I hate direct mail, and I hate direct mail people. And I promised my guys we'd never do direct mail again. I told Mark I'd give you 15 minutes. You got 14 left. 3 weeks later, best weekend in the history of the store.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, but that goes back to the sales thing. It's like, wow, this guy hits you upside the head with this objection right away. And you got to know how to overcome that. But I think you've done it in such a creative way where it's like, where your competition fails and why your company is great. So you're selling the value constantly to these people.
I tell my guys all the time, I said, because we get knocked off a lot.
Yeah.
And it infuriates them. And I don't know that I'll ever talk them out of it completely. But, and you've heard the adage, it's a flattery, so on. I think of it more this way. People don't knock off losers.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
And so if they're knocking us off, that means they're in our rearview mirror. Now, the rearview mirror is this big. The windshield is this big. Now, why do you suppose that might be?
Yeah.
Which one's more important?
Yeah.
And I always say, if anybody ever gets in our windshield, let me know. I promise you, I will have them back in our rearview mirror within 48 hours. And I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
I have the audacity and the ego to believe that we're the best, but that's what I set out to be. I really did. And I don't want to come across arrogant, but I would challenge anybody to a debate on how we do things, because we are extremely deliberate. Just like you're deliberate in your CSI, you're deliberate in the experience that you showed me out in your showroom floor. Yeah. You're deliberate in how you're going to make your customers love buying a car.
Yeah,
it's so obvious when you walk into the store.
Yeah,
who else has the world's biggest
Plinko board?
Plinko board. And I can see a customer loving that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so transactional. There's actually relationships to be built out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of dealers miss. We really kind of need to be the mayors of our community. We've been talking about that a lot. Like since we started the podcast, like we can either be the president, somebody I would call you like a president. I mean, you're all across the country, you're dealing with dealers all across the country. You're flying here, flying there, but like for us, we need to be the mayor of Lafayette, Indianapolis, the mayors of Chicago, to where if people want to buy a car, they're buying it from us, right? So it's been it's been a big shift for us because now it's like, okay, what are those local charities that we can help? What are the local foundations that we can support? What are some fun events we can put on for the community? I'll invite you back for this.
Please do.
They have a circus at the Honda store. They bring in like a couple rides and horses and all this stuff. It was wild. They did it last year. We did like a summer concert series at one of the lots. So it's like, how can we continually innovate and like get creative in this space?
I hope this doesn't get me in trouble with any of my manufacturers, but the truth is the truth.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll always tell that even if I lost. The reality is this, and I wish I would have brought it with me. I have a full-page ad every other week in Automotive News. And I also threw a huge fundraiser for Ron DeSantis, his second biggest, and had a lot of car dealers there.
Yeah.
Do you know who Rita Case is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She was the sharpest person in the room. I was shocked. And she asked Ron directly about a piece of legislation, which she's not aware of every piece of legislation. She made him aware of it. And it was to protect dealers on the franchise law. Right? And it passed. So I put on one, I got the trunk. He's there talking about what he just did for car dealers. And I'm over here with my deal pointing at him.
Yeah.
Even though it was paid by, the right pack. But the truth of the matter is in things like manufacturers taking over. You're never going to see a manufacturer on the fence at the Little League game.
No.
You guys are such huge parts of your community, and you all are. I see this. It inspired me to do what I do. Again, how did I get into philanthropy? By a car dealer.
Yeah.
That knew what he was doing. He knew how to get me there.
Yeah.
Once he got me there, you can't help but help.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have a little fun and talk about the jet for a minute. So why did you get a jet?
You're not going to like my answer. When I was on the road, right, I would box shirts up. Dry cleaners, do they even still do that? I'm not sure.
Sure, I don't know.
I've slept on the floor at the Detroit International Airport. Sorry. Kind of attacked my own central nervous system there. Yeah. Learned real quick that they cancel one flight, run for a hotel, And I have a large enough ego, I guess, to think I'm the best foot forward.
Sure.
But the reality is I would rather do that than play CEO. I enjoy this.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I realized there's no way I'm going to put the windshield. I used to take off from Chicago, be gone for 5 days, all the way over to Kansas, and then down lower Missouri, and then up the right side, which would be 57.
Yeah.
And I mean, homie ain't going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I just and so I calculated it and I justified it.
Yeah.
That, I could be out more, do more, be home for dinner, and just kind of say, okay, this is what it's going to cost me. Would I pay a great salesman that? Yes, I would.
Yeah.
And so I want to be out there. I still love that.
Yeah. It was funny because I've never flown private, so feel free to invite me. No, I'm just kidding. So we're going to the airport today. And I'm like, Logan, I don't even know where to pick John up at. I have no clue. So I call the airport. And I'm like, hey, we got a friend flying in. Where do we go? He goes, oh, that's actually a great question. I'm like, oh, thank you. I got validated
What's
right
the
away.
number?
Yeah. Well, so then I'm like, he goes, okay, so here's the address. I punched the address on my phone. And I'm driving down, and you saw the way that we came. It's like chain link fences everywhere. And we're just looking at each other like, should we be here? I'm not sure. And then I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like a cool little airport. And they were just sitting there waiting for you. And sure enough, here you come right there. And they gave you a front row spot right there by the door. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Every now and then you get lucky.
I know.
At the Super Bowl, where's my plane? They're parking them on the ramp. Actually, I learned a little trick about doing the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Park your airplane 30 miles away.
Why is that?
Because in Tampa or wherever they're having the Super Bowl, if you park at the International, you won't get launched till 5 a.m. There's just so many private jets.
So they're just lined up and just ready to go.
Right. So 30 minutes away, it was me and Beyonce. That was it. The only two people that knew park 30 miles away. And the other thing is, don't have your driver pick you up at the Super Bowl. Find out from your driver at what is it, 6 blocks, 8 blocks?
Yeah.
Does it span and break up enough to where you're actually driving faster than people are walking?
Yeah.
Right?
You'd rather walk.
Yeah. So you learn to do these things, so that you can optimize the plane.
So are you doing any direct mail for Beyonce, or was that just a chance encounter?
I looked at it and went, that's Beyonce's plane?
I love it. Yeah, I love it because you had.
You got throw rocks at mine after looking at hers. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Fit mine inside hers.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the future of the automotive industry. Where do you see it going? Because again, you've done it since you were 14, and you've seen all the changes over time. I feel like your company has been so steady with what you do and what your mission is. But where do you see the big landscape of automotive in the next 5-10 years?
I think you're going to see a lot of third party that claim to be lead generation that aren't really lead generation. They're going to try to produce a non-human interaction Matter of fact, the comment was made in my office the other day by my CTO. He goes, "It's almost like they're trying to create a scenario where the dealer or the salesperson never actually has to talk to the customer."
That's 100% what they're doing.
And that's not going to fly. You know, there's a few people, like at my office, right? Somebody bought a car from a dealer who wasn't one of our clients. Can't help it, that bothers me. You know, it's like, it bothers me.
Yeah.
And it was pointed out, you don't have the right to tell us where to buy a car. You're right, I don't. But buy from a client, come see me, and I'll give you $1,000 towards the purchase of the car.
There you go.
So I solved the problem.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's all you do is solve problems.
Just solve the problem, and next, what the barber say? Next, you know,
exactly.
Just move on to the next thing, and now we do that because the human element. I mean, I had one guy buy from Carvana. Ask him how he liked the experience.
Yeah, and I think because I heard there was a podcast lately, and I'm not going to say the name of it, but there was a CEO of a company that's very good. And, you know, they play in that AI space. And he said his goal was to automate the process from when you first submit a lead to when we deliver the car. And I don't know that it was taking people out of it, but it was maybe complementing what the people do within the process. I'm all for that, but it does get a little scary when a lot of my work I had ChatGPT. Do you know what ChatGPT is? So I had that open on my computer, and I like stepped away to take a phone call, and I came back, and somebody was like, "Oh, I see you're working hard." I'm like, well, why wouldn't I, right? It kind of like the jet, like it saves me time. ChatGPT is my jet. Now it's free and, you know, helps me write the emails and saves me time. But this whole AI thing is a little scary, but how is your company leveraging that at all? Are you starting to incorporate that into your process?
We are, but not necessarily in our process, just things that we can offer, that we can do. You worded it perfectly. I'm going to steal it. Would you please say it again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you are.
Yeah, I think you're complimenting the person, right?
Complimenting the experience.
You have the AI experience. So yeah, I want AI to respond to that lead first because they're going to do it way quicker, right? So basically what I'm trying to do is let the AI do what it's best at. Let the human do what the human's best at, right? Humans were created for relationships. That's what they're great at. AI was created for quick, automated responses. So let that manage that part of it, right? That's my take on it.
Imagine an AI that a salesperson can ask, this is the objection or this is the concern. How do I overcome that? And good, solid responses from AI. Yeah. I've actually seen it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's quick, it's fast, it's information when you need it. Because I learned real quick when I was selling cars to shut up and do what you told me to do. Yeah. Because when I thought I knew, you know, I always said the difference between me and God never tried to play John. You know, John, on the other hand, tried to play God a few times in his life, right? So when I'm sitting in front of a sales manager, I'm 6 weeks in the business, I'm going to play sales manager. Yeah. You know, listen to what he has to say and do it exactly the way he said to do it.
Yeah. Because he's there for a reason, right?
Exactly.
So I wish I had like stop talking or something on my suit jacket.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Just embroidered. Wouldn't that be cool?
No, yeah.
Can we show that? Is that going to be on camera?
All right. This is the reason for this. Man, set it up.
Go ahead. Yeah.
If you're in sales or have been in sales, you know that when you're training a new guy and I'm talking to you and you're the boss and I'm the boss and we're talking about doing some business, inadvertently they jump in, right? Yeah. And they're not supposed to. And you know that and I know that.
Oh, yeah.
So on the inside of my suit, I don't know if you can see it or not, it actually says, stop talking. And it's a blast. It's an absolute blast because it's going to happen. And so I'm sitting across from you and he starts talking, says something probably not that smart, right? You know, or completely off of where we're headed. Yeah. And excuse me, Mr. Dealer. And then I'll just turn and then look back at you and you know you can't help it. You're like, what did you just do? Yeah. And then you show it to the dealer and, you know, you got to pause for 5 minutes while he laughs because it is so true.
I love it. It's so funny. You know? So that's when we know we need to end the podcast. You can do that to me at any point. So, so I'm really curious because you've obviously been extremely successful in business. You know, who have you learned from? Who have been your mentors over the years? And then maybe what are a couple lessons that you've learned from them?
That's such a great question because I've had just so many different types of mentors depending on what. The biggest would be a man named Richard Zimmerman, and it was all about integrity and, don't put a price on that. Pass on the deal. Don't cheat. Don't do things the wrong way. Got this from Mike Porro, another great guy. Do the next right thing, and the next right thing's liable to happen for you. I may not always know what the right thing is, but man, I can tell in my gut, this is not fitting right. Like we were talking about interviewing a person and going, it doesn't feel right.
Right.
They're answering things way too perfect, way too quick, way too polished. I don't want polished. I want professional. So I would say things like that. Just, Gary Offtrain, where's your tie, young man? He treated young people in the industry as if he was a coach. Well, that's giving back.
Yeah.
And so I try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Emulate a lot of different people that you just learn things that stick with you. In this case, 35 years.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now to give back, to the automotive space through, I would assume you're hiring a lot of these young guys. What does your role in coaching and mentoring look like with them?
It's practice, drill, rehearse, and a lot, which hasn't changed. The basics are still the basics. I'm old school, and I'm very much into the basics. Yeah. But I'll tell you what's kind of cool. My office is connected to the conference room, and I was listening through the door while we were training 4 or 5 new guys out of college, and they were there a week, and they had content down.
Yeah.
All they needed was voice inflection, but because we're extremely deliberate, everything we say for a reason. Nobody my age would get it that quick, right? So, we're bringing guys out of school. I had the best compliment paid to me by one of these young men. He said, Mr. Hamlin, I've learned more from you in 6 months than I learned in 4 years of college. So you got to give it away to keep it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we had a social media influencer on not too long ago, and I don't know if you know this guy. His name's Russ Flips Whips. He has 500,000 followers on TikTok. He's one of the top Lincoln salespeople in the country, and that was his big message to us. Was his social media thing? Just give. Tell people how to sell cars. Tell people how to buy cars. We got the other pocket too. Be of service and inspire hope.
Yeah. And that hope for gain in anything, whether you're fighting cancer or you want to get better at what you're doing. And I'm not going to go all religious here, okay? But the reality of it is, and I'm a Christian. It's not a very good one, but I do believe in the Christianity. And so let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's really popular, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you think anybody's going to know who he is 2,500 years from now?
Probably not.
Probably not. The most popular insignia would be the apple on the back of my phone.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be more popular than the cross?
No.
My buddy Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
4 New York Times bestsellers. Do you think he'll ever outsell the Bible?
No.
So success leaves clues, doesn't it? Right? And arguably, whether you're agnostic or Christian, this guy, Jesus Christ, that roamed the earth, right? Arguably the most successful man ever because his book is still the #1 seller. His insignia is still stronger. And what did he do? He washed people's feet. And that's where I really started to get into the be of service. And and this is who I am. I don't focus on my success. I focus on yours. I focus on the people that work for me. First, you're out of self. Self is a horrible place to hang out.
Sure.
And if you're helping everybody around you be successful, your success is a foregone conclusion. The only difference is you weren't in self, so you got to actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That. Yeah. No, it's great. And it's reason, so we named this the Driving Relationships Podcast. Because again, I think it goes all back to, we were created, and that's why I use that term. We were created for relationships. That's what humans were created for, right? And so I think you hit on the other one of our core values, like servant-minded. And have you ever met somebody who's unhappy if they're serving someone out of the goodness of their heart?
Never. It's impossible.
It is. It's literally impossible.
I'm an idiot. I test theories like that. Yeah, I know. It's so stupid. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time.
Let me try it.
Nah, he's right. You can't. I think about that little redhead, right? When the person's doing 55 and a 70 in the fast lane.
Yeah.
Am I angry? No.
Yeah.
Right? And these things really do help if you tap into them.
Yeah, and I think you have to have a sense of purpose in life, no matter what it is. Whether you find that in religion or you find that in family or something else. If you don't have that sense of purpose or self of, your motivation was to be one of the best, right? Your motivation is to serve, and so that just carries you. Sorry, the best. That shows you how purposeful that statement is for you, and it has kind of been a mission for you.
Well, without going deep, and I guess I don't know how much time we have, and
go ahead, we can take a few more minutes. Yeah.
There's two things that I really support, and there's a reason. Okay, I told you the reason with the children. It just hit me.
Yeah,
I was there under wrong reasons, but the right outcome came. The other is we. I don't know if you heard about it, but we built the police academy in Volusia County, and I'm the chairman of the board of the Volusia Sheriff's Association.
Oh, tell me about that.
Big part of building it.
Yeah.
It was right at that time that everybody's saying, nobody, you get two anchors or two people in a news desk. Well, nobody wants to be a police officer. And that person would go, well, can you blame them? And that was the narrative. And so it stopped it. And we said, we can do better than this. And so without one taxpayer dollar, we built the best police academy in the country. We're fully staffed. And now we have other agencies coming to us to train or just to build their own academy. Why do I do that? Because I was in a lot of trouble when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And at 17 years old, I'll make it a short story. I hung around with a lot of wrong people.
Yeah.
And 17 years old, and the person that we all hung out at his house was 38. Do you need any more to know about that dynamic?
No.
Okay.
You don't. Yeah.
So I got a job selling cars at 18. Yeah. I started to leave that behind. The guys didn't like it. They have this guy. He's buying hot cars. John, all you got to do is get his keys. Guys, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Fight in sewers, right? I have to fight the guys. Larry, the 38-year-old, calls me, brings me over to his house, heard about what the guys did. There's a guy wandering around behind a partition. All right? And he's like, his name Chris Prophet. He goes, Chris, come out here. They're trying to talk me into it. Chris comes from around the partition. He's not Chris Prophet. He's Chris Peterson, and he's a cop.
Wow.
Biggest sting operation in the history of Portland, Oregon.
Wow.
Everybody gets arrested. I get arrested. I get taken to his office by Officer Christensen. I'm cuffed. Chris comes walking in. Immediately, 18-year-old punk.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is bull. I didn't do anything, man. He looks at me. He goes, oh, come on, Hamlin. You and I both know you've done plenty. I think I laughed. Because,
Sorry, you got me.
Yeah, okay, I guess you're right. And Christian, just take the cuffs off him. He said, I'm just curious. I picked you up because I want to know something. You made a good decision. Are you going to stick with it? Because I promise you, your friends are going to all end up dead or in jail. Now, word is you have family in Illinois. I'll get the F out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You're going down if you hang with these guys. It hit. It struck.
Yeah.
I wanted to go sell cars and I left 2 days later.
Wow.
Back to Illinois.
That's so cool.
I've been back since.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody but one, and the one got out of jail at 54.
Wow.
So his son died while he was in jail. Chris Peterson was 100% correct about every one of my friends. Dead or in jail. Prison. So that's why the two things, the children.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. I got cancer tomorrow because I quit 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a hand in that. A kid being born with AIDS.
Right.
They're completely innocent.
Right.
They had nothing to do with it. And the police officer thing, only because I want them to know that they can still make an impact. Don't pass on that just because of the negative press. Still be willing to sit down with some punk like me.
Right.
And talk some sense to me, because a lot of us didn't have dads.
Yeah.
Active in our lives.
Yeah. That's an epidemic in the country, right? But I think it's cool. I talk about hinge moments all the time. And there's always that one moment that you look back on your life that was a hinge that took you a different direction.
Defining.
Closed a door, opens another one. And that is just really cool to hear your story and your side of it. And
had I not taken his advice, I would be where they are, which is scary.
Yeah.
Very Real scary.
Yeah.
So those are my two passions.
Yeah. Well, I guess anything else you want to talk about or anything, we'll kind of wrap up here in the next couple of minutes, but I at least want to give you the opportunity if you want to plug anything or if you want to ask me anything, I don't care.
How hard is it to take over and follow the legend that is Bob Roman?
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Rohrman a couple different times, and the first time I did. So I went to college with his grandson Trey. That's how I got into the business. Trey said, "You need to come sell cars for me. Come sell cars. Come sell cars." And I kind of just hit one of those. He had asked me enough times, like, "Fine, I'll do it." So come in on a $400 a week draw and all that. But so quickly, in about 6 months, I was a desk manager, right? And because they'll make anybody a desk manager. So I'm at the desk. We're having an old-fashioned tent sale at the fairgrounds. They said, "Austin, you're a new desk manager. Why don't you stay back at the store? 2 things you need to know. If Mr. Rohrman comes around, make sure you have your name tag on and make sure you know how many cars you have out." Got it, guys. I'm on it. So they left me back with Chuck Austin and Larry Rainford as 2 of our most senior salesmen. I mean, they've been in the business for over 30 years. So sure enough, Mr. Rohrman, I see him outside coming around. I'm like, "Oh, all right, got my name tag. We're good. We're good." So he comes up to the desk. He goes, "Ooh, babe." He goes, "How many cars you guys got out?" I said, "We got 3 new and 2 used, Mr. Rohrman." And he looks at me, and the air gets sucked out of the room. He's like, "That's what they told me at the tent." I said, "Oh, yeah, that's what they told you what I was doing here at the store? Yeah, 3 new and 2 used." He goes, "No, they said that's how many they had out. One of you's lying to me." And he left it at that. I was like, "Well, it's not me, Mr. Rohrman. Go out to the tent. Let's figure it out."
See it, man.
You want to see the computer?
We were not allowed to even make eye contact with him,
And then he goes, "Is Chuck here?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's right over there." He goes, "All right, keep it up." That just leaves like, oh. But man, I tell you what, his story is so inspiring too. Just growing up on the dirt floors with all those siblings and building this empire.
Yeah.
And how, yes, he demanded so much of people, but he also made them great. He made so many people around him great. And then this is what I go back to. I wish they had social media when Mr. Rohrman was around.
Oh, wow.
Because think of the millions he would be making with these commercials. That was just on cable television. Let alone if he would have been able to have followers and likes and shares and all this. Like, man, I can't even imagine the social media empire that he would have built, right? But, I think that we're trying to carry on his legacy. Again, and you talked about it a lot. Like, he has been so involved in the community, his integrity, just the way he treated people. I saw him around customers, man. He loved customers. And one of his things was, if you get them to fall in love with you, you can sell them a car. Right. And that's true to everything that he did. So we're really trying to carry on that legacy. And I think the family is doing a great job here of doing that too. So
definitely are. And it's not as easy as some people might think.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question. And I think I shared this with you earlier. My idols in life, they're not Steven Tyler or Led Zeppelin or whatever. They're car dealers.
Yeah.
Because they're some of the greatest people on the planet.
Yeah. And you said it before. I mean, you drop a car dealer into any other entrepreneurial venture or any other business sector, they're going to crush it. They will figure it out. I mean, you think about how much is in this business. We basically have a sales team. We basically have a bank on site that we're running.
Right.
We have real estate business that we're running. And there's a franchise that we have to deal with. I mean, even that alone covers basically everything, right? We have a car rental company. Like, we rent cars.
I never broke it down like that. I just knew it was.
I don't know what else there is, John. I mean, we have literally a bank. Like, we can get people approved.
Do you know Mr. Moran, or of Mr. Moran, late great Mr. Moran?
I don't.
He left Chicago to go to Florida to die of cancer. Got down there, didn't die. Got approached by a little unknown named Toyota, saying, "Could you sell Toyotas in America?"
Yeah,
sure, I could. SET was born. JM Family was born. Right. And they were going to lose one. 25 years, never lost his Lexus store. Only store he actually owned.
Yeah. Wow.
And long story short, he puts us in there. Yeah. It's us and Longo.
Yep.
And everybody's reporting cars.
Yep.
But I'll never forget this. I'm standing there, and he pulls up in front. We had people parking cars, and this guy, this a temp, goes, "Look at this guy. What does he think he owns the joint?" He starts like, "Hold up, Skippy." Yeah, he does. Don't go yell at him. But the coolest part is, here's an old man with his cancer back.
Yeah.
Comes in. I said, I started to say, "I don't know if you remember me." He didn't let me finish. He goes, "John Hamlin, I know who."
Wow.
And then as he's shaking my hand, he looks right and he looks left, and he goes, "And it looks like you're doing a great job."
Wow.
And then he sat. He was on the showroom floor the whole day, sitting with customers, closing deals, talking to people, just like what you're saying about Mr. Rohrman.
Yeah.
He loved the business.
Yeah, he did.
And you can spot the ones that are just passionately in love with the car business.
Yeah. And we do. It's a fun business. I think a lot of us end up here by accident. It's not our dream. You know,
It was mine. I know.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I told Grant that, he's like, wait a minute, what?
I love it. That's awesome, though. So,
Oh, wait. You can use this or not if you have time.
Sure.
Do you remember Ron Tonkin?
no. I feel like you need to educate me on all these references. I feel like I'm like...
Ron Tonkin was an NADA chairman president
Okay.
that actually took on issues. And everybody, at that time it was brand new, and everybody wanted him on their client list, right? So being the strong and aggressive salesperson and with all the word tracks in the world, I knew if I could just talk to him, by golly, I know I could get him.
Yeah.
My buddy says, here's his direct line. No cell phones back then. Here's his direct line. Give him a call. I'm like, yeah, right, it's this direct line. This is Ron. No. Here's right. Mr. Tonkin, my name's John Hamlin. I have a direct mail marketing company. If you don't like it, you don't have to pay me. He goes, what? So I got grouped,
Yeah.
right? Got my composure and said, Mr. Tonkin, my name's John Hamlin. I have a direct mail marketing company. And if you don't like what I do, you don't have to pay me.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Different inflection.
Yeah. Just wasn't so panicked.
Right.
And he goes, are you in Oregon? I said, no. He said, are you going to be in Oregon? Yes. When? When would you like me there? So the best. So I meet with him. It's 5 minutes of what I'm going to do, and honestly, 55 minutes of learning, just listening to a great. Yeah. And then we do his Chevy store, break the single day sales. When I say this guy took on, right? Yeah. He bought the Pontiac store down the street, and the manufacturer said, well, we're not going to approve the deal. In automotive news, they said, we don't want a rebel rouser for a dealer. And he said, I don't think you understand something. They said, but we'll help you sell the dealership. I think you got this all wrong. You prove it, or I turn it into the biggest Honda store in the Northwest, which he did. So we did his Chevy store. Best weekend ever. Yeah. I've got different GMs calling me from different stores, and then I get a call from his two sons, right? Yeah. Bradley and Ed. And they're like, well, we need to decide what we're going to pay you. I said, no, that wasn't the deal. The deal was you liked it, you paid me, or if you didn't like it, you didn't pay me. Yeah. And he's more the thinks things through guy. Sure. I said, John, can you hold on for a second? I don't know what he did, but he didn't put me on hold. He's like, Bradley, let's quit messing with this guy, get him paid, and get the other stores going, okay? Yeah. Then I'm on hold. Then I'm off hold. And he says, you heard that, didn't you? Yes, I did. And I've already signed up 3 of your other stores. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, John, thanks so much, man. That was so much fun just to sit down and learn from you. And, we talked about learning from the greats. I really feel like that's what I did here today, too. So it's
Thank you. That's
cool to hear
nice.
your commitment to integrity throughout your business and just how rewarding that's been. So that definitely inspires me and hopefully inspires the listeners, too, to continue to do that. So Give us a quick pitch of your product. What do you guys do? Who would be a good fit for you? Any
car dealer in the country would be a good fit. Like I said, we're a tech company. We have a working the lane service program. We have an email program where we're working on a trade an appraisal tool that will happen. We have a backstop communications which takes calls perfectly. Yeah, we just have an array of things, in our suite. Now, again, most of it's communicated through direct mail. But everybody that gets a piece of direct mail gets a different piece. If I did 30,000 for you tomorrow, every single letter would be different. Wow. And it's the call to action based really on them. Wow. So it's awesome. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, obviously, if you need some more information, we'll post a link down below where you can get in touch with John and his team. And then if you'd be so kind, give us a like and a comment and a follow. We'll see you next time. The views and statements expressed on this podcast, as well as any other use of its content, exclusively represent the opinions and views of the Driving Relationships podcast and shall not be attributed to or construed as views or statements of any other affiliated entity.